It feels like a long time coming. But finally, we have some Texas Southern representation on the show that isn't just me. And that's head coach Cris Dishman coming in to break down the upcoming Labor Day Classic and his overall approach to Texas Southern football. Oh, yeah, it's Locked On HBCU. Play my music.
You are Locked On HBCU, your daily podcast covering HBCU sports. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, family? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On HBCU podcast, your number one daily one-stop shop for everything HBCU athletics, Monday through Friday, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And I, of course, am Darian Gray, a.k.a. the Mouth of the South, Texas Southern alum and former TSU Herald Sports editor and current contributing writer at USA Today's Saints Wire. Thank you for going on this journey with me. Make it Locked On HBCU your first listen of the day every day. And remember, just because the mic cuts off does not mean that the journey is over. Just means it's time to follow me on Twitter at South Exclusives. Starts with an S and ends with an S. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel, and now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial on NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube or YouTube TV. Visit FanDuel.com/locked-on to get started. This means a lot to me. It means a lot to me to finally have head coach Cris Dishman of Texas Southern University, my alma mater, of course, to join the show. I wasn't able to get McKinney from the previous rank. I wasn't able to get any former Texas Southern players. So to have somebody, specifically the head coach here, to break down not only his point of view of the Labor Day Classic, his journey to Texas Southern, his connection with some SWAC coaches, but I thought segment 2 was the most interesting because it breaks down how unique his offensive approach and Texas Southern's offensive approach will be in 2024. You see my polo. You see the flag behind me. You see his shirt. It's Texas Southern everywhere. To me, this feels like a paradise. This is utopia. I got Cris Dishman, the new Texas Southern head coach, here with me. And we have a mutual connection, Coach. Somebody who really set this up. And I want to start it off talking about my guy, Coach James, who's been very helpful in getting this done. And let's flash this little picture up. I'll tell what's on there for my people on the audio side, and then you can describe it with everybody. So that's Bubba McDowell, PV. That's you, of course. Cris Dishman, Texas Southern. Eddie Robinson, Alabama State. And then also James Williams, Alabama State. But what is the connection and the importance of you four taking a picture together?
Well, it's just all the Oilers, we played at the same time. All of us played around the same time. I was 1 year older than Bubba. Bubba is 1 year older than James and Eddie. So I'm 2 years older than James and Eddie. So that was a significant part of it. We was all down at the SWAC down there in Birmingham. We was all down there at the convention and luncheon down there. So we decided to take a picture with each other.
And I ain't gonna lie. I really did think that was a cool moment because if I'm not mistaken, I gotta look at the time. Were you with Houston with Eddie as well? Did you also cross? It's crazy how many Houston Oilers, I know he's mostly known for being a Tennessee Titan because that's kind of the timeline he came around, but like it's crazy how many of y'all went into coaching. Do you guys sit around or just talk and laugh about that from time to time?
No, we can't find the number. We're trying to get someone to actually find the number of how many Houston Oilers is actually coaching. Not just high school, college ball, professional football. I know Mark Robb is coaching with the Saints. Steve Jackson is with Atlanta. Jerry Gray is also, I think, is with Atlanta. He's doing something senior personnel with Atlanta. So Alonzo Highsmith, who was at Green Bay, then he went to Miami. Now I think he is back in the professional ranks. So we have a lot of guys who put their heart and soul into football and decide to stay in football and coach.
And I'll tell you what I think is most interesting about that is that the Oilers in name don't exist anymore. That's what kind of makes it a little bit more special because you see these guys who are, you just use Tennessee, for example, because that's where they went. it's a little different. It's like, hey, we're Oilers, so we're from a certain era where we're all there. That's pretty cool to me. And Bubba McDowell, he's been in the SWAC as a head coach for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Eddie Robinson's been in the SWAC as a head coach for a couple of years, and he was a player here, right? So he's born and bred in it. Same with James Williams. Are these guys talking to you about how to move within the SWAC since you're the new guy on the block, essentially?
Of course they are. I'm the rookie coming in, just like Eddie was a rookie when he came in. James was a rookie when he came with the Oilers, and I took both of them underneath my wings and showed them how to guide around different stuff. And they always been helpful to me of the do's and the don'ts, what to expect and not to expect. And they all been right on point at this time of what's going on. So without them, I don't know if I would have been this far along as far as coaching wise.
You know, that's a what's it called? Kind of a flip. That's a reverse in placement for you, having to be the young guy, the new guy, when you're used to being the vet to these players. And one of those guys is Bubba McDowell. We know where he coaches, Prairie View A&M. You see him this week. Are you aware of the last time that the Texas Southern Tigers defeated the Prairie View A&M Panthers?
Yeah, I guess it was Bubba said he got a 9-year run on us. So we have to make sure this year it would stop and become a rivalry. And it can't be a rivalry until we start winning one or two. So it's my job to get our guys prepared to win this upcoming Saturday.
You know, that's a lot of pressure. This is your first game as a head coach. You got all of this pressure on you to break a streak. This is not just a regular season opener. I say this as an alum, this is everything. You know, this is the game that you circle every year. Do you feel that weight of that on your shoulders going into the week?
No, I don't, Darren. I know it probably means the world to everyone else, but to me as a player, me as a coach, and my players, we cannot let that means the world to us because it doesn't. It's one game, win or lose, it's one game. In the record books, it's going to count as one loss, and it's going to count as one win. We have bigger fish to fry. You know, we're trying to beat Prairie View, of course. We're trying to win the SWAC, and we try to win in Atlanta versus the MEAC school in the Celebration Bowl. So those are the 3 victories that we're looking forward to make us have a successful season.
Do you find it difficult to get your team to focus and hone in because it is a big game on a yearly basis to say, no, we're not going to treat this as anything special? I know what it may have felt like in the past, but this year is going to be business as usual.
Well, I've been talking to them about it for 2 weeks now, and hopefully they are listening and understanding that you can't get too high, you can't get too low. Stay even keel, and at the end of the game, if we have won the game, go and celebrate, shake their hands, but don't feel like we won the SWAC. We can't win the SWAC in one game. So that's our next goal. We win this game, our next goal is to win the SWAC. So we have to go out prepared to win the SWAC.
And for those who are thinking, all right, man, Texas Southern hasn't got it right, because it's been a while, right? It has been a while since TSU has been successful. It's been a while since TSU has beat PV. Let's just start with week 1.
Right.
What do you say to those fans who may be overwhelmed with pessimism about your chances this year in this game?
Well, the thing is that we're going to save room for those who are doubtful and those who don't think we can get it done. That bandwagon, we're going to save room for you. So, this train is going to keep on moving forward. It's going to move forward fast. So if you want a bandwagon, you better jump on now. And because we may not have that much room, I'm going to save some seats, but I don't know how many seats I have to save.
Man, Coach, I like your demeanor. You're calm. You're cool. How does that go into the sidelines? How does that go into talking to your team and keeping them even keel? Because I can only imagine that an energy like that should be infectious, or you would desire it at least to be infectious to your team.
Well, the thing is that with our team, you know, I'm very proud of the way our guys have been handling the situation over the last 180 days. We have under 180 days of football, of camp, spring ball, and different stuff like that. And right now, as coaches, I got a great coaching staff. While I'm doing interviews, while I'm down at Prairie View, spending half the day doing the interviews, our coaching staff is steady game planning. I got 2 good coordinators who's going to put the right people on the field and going to make plays for us. And our players have to understand that It's going to be 4 quarters. We're not going to walk into Prairie View and just blow them out. It's not going to be that. It's going to be a very close game, and it may come down to a field goal like it did last year. Because hopefully now that we could be on the good end of that field goal and not the bad end of that field goal.
And you mentioned, I think that this game a lot of times comes down to that close moment, right? Maybe it might not be a one-score game, but if you sit there and you watch it, it comes down to those fourth quarter moments. It comes down to those late third quarter moments. How are you prepared for that? New head coach, first time on the sidelines on this level. How are you mentally prepared for those big moments that probably will come up in this game?
Well, you got to realize Prairie View is going to be fighters. Coach McDowell's a fighter. He's always been a fighter. From day one I met him, there was Olas. Even when he got hurt, he came back very hard, rehabbed very hard, came back stronger, bigger and better. So his team has taken on his demeanor, grinders and fighters. My team has taken on my demeanor. I'm a grinder. I'm a fighter. I'm going to keep pushing. I don't take no for an answer. I'm going to keep pushing until I find me a yes. And that's why I'm telling our team, we're not going to go down to Prairie View. I don't want any fights. We're going to go and shake their hands, and we're going to move on. Win or lose, we're going to shake their hands and move on. Because then we have Rice and Rice and Lamar coming up after that. So what I don't want to be getting too high, like we won the SWAC, or too low, like our whole season is over, and it's not.
Yeah, I did see some of that. I ain't gonna lie. When you talk about grinding and fighting, I was there last year for that game. Obviously, I was there for multiple years when I was a student, but I was there last year for that game. Grinder, fighter, that is exactly what I saw out of PV. I'm looking forward to it. Let's continue looking at that though, because we're not done with the talk of the season. I want to break down this offense because you made some interesting comments at SWAC Media Day that I want to explore deeper as we continue with Locked On HBCU. Today's episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Now, if you're anything like me, sometimes you eat lunch and you catch the itis, but you at work, so you can't really sleep. It's not like you can go take yourself a nap real quick, but that post-lunch grogginess is a real thing. Matter of fact, I'm speaking to 70 out of 100 of you because studies show that 70% of people do have that after lunch kind of lethargic moment, right? So 5 Hour Energy is going to go ahead and push you through the rest of your day. Go ahead and take a shot of that, whether it's grape, watermelon, tropical burst, or berry, or any of the other flavors that you are able to find on the 5 Hour Energy website. That'll go ahead and push you through the rest of your work day. Go to 5 Hour Energy. That's the number 5, hourenergy.com, and get some 5 Hour Energy product today. Use my code LOCKEDONCFB to get 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th and only on one order. Can't be used with other promotions either. The code is not good on subscription orders, but if you go ahead and start today at 5hourenergy.com today, you can get your 20% off. As we continue rolling on today's episode of Locked On HBCU, I appreciate you for making this your first listen of the day every day for your second listen. Make sure you're checking out Locked On College Football with Spencer McLaughlin because we're covering everything HBCU. He has everything on the FBS level, from the ACC to the Big 10 to the Big 12 to the SEC, new schools and new conferences, and an even bigger CFB playoffs coming up this year. Go check out Spencer McLaughlin and everything he has to say on Locked On College Football, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm still rolling with Cris Dishman, new head coach at Texas Southern University. I told you I wanted to talk about some of the comments you made at SWAC Media Day about your offense, and you chuckled. So I feel like you may know where I'm going with this, but I'm going to say it and ask you just in case. You made a comment about a lot of 32 and 23 personnel. Coach, I have to know, how committed are we to playing that heavy throughout the year?
Very committed. It's part of football. Running the ball is part of football. I never want to see 10 and 11 personnel and throw the ball all over the field. But if you can control the clock, win turnover battles, win third down, and score in the red zone, you can win a lot of football games. And that's our motto, to win football games. I don't care if we beat a team by 20 or beat a team by 2, as long as we're on the winning end of that. You know, one of the TSU alums told me there in New Orleans that if we beat Prairie View and lose the rest, he'd be happy. And I kind of chuckled and looked at him. I said, well, my Purdue education is pretty good. And if we beat Prairie View and win and lose the rest of them, we're 1-10. But if we lose against Prairie View and win the rest, we're 10-1. You want more wins on the left side of column than you do on the right side of column. So we want the higher number on the left than we do on the right. So we have 3 goals in mind: beat Prairie View, win the SWAC, win in Atlanta. Those are the 3 goals we have in mind. If we can accomplish those 3 goals this season, our coaches has done a great job. And I got a very, very good coaching staff that's all they constantly do is bang these guys' head and letting them know what we're trying to do as a team. And it's our team. It's not my team. It's our team. And I'm sure a lot of alums there at Texas Southern will be very elated when we beat Prairie View, So, but what I don't want is any ruffles or nothing like that. I want everybody to have a great time because it's going to be a good football game. It's going to be a very good 4-quarter football game. So everyone just need to come to the game and relax and enjoy, and that way we can also celebrate at the end.
Now, Coach, trust me, I love all of that, right? But 32-23 is abnormal in today's modern offense. It's just not what you typically see, right? So it's one of those things where I have to wrap my head around it because we're talking about 3 running backs, 2 tight ends. We're talking about 3 tight ends on the field sometimes. For those who don't know, 32-23 personnel.
Well, I'm bringing it back. I'm 59. I just turned 59 years old, and I always believe in controlling the clock. I've been in some systems where you pass. All of a sudden, now your defense have 85, 90 plays. We cannot put our defense in that situation like that. We're going to control the clock. We're going to be able to go into our big personnel and run the ball. And we're going to run. We are going to pass the ball when it's time to pass. We're going to run when it's time to run.
Okay, well, if we're talking heavy that way, and I had to push because I really did need to know, because, hey, like let's just be honest. It's not often that you see 32 personnel out there.
No, it's not.
It's just not, right? But
that's why we got to bring something new to the SWAC. Right now they got 11, 10 personnel. Everybody want to air raid, throw the ball, and stuff like that. So if I bring something new, then I will be the genius.
Bingo. Now, this is something I talked about on the show because we talked about this about, I would say probably a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. Is there an idea that maybe going so heavy would take advantage of defenses that are lighter, and not just in far as like 6 men in the box, not just nickel or anything, but linebackers these days are a little bit more accustomed to defending the pass. They tend to be a little bit lighter. Is there a thought process that by playing so heavy, you could take advantage of something that teams aren't even equipped for on their roster for real?
Yeah, absolutely right. I did my homework, and I did my homework, and I see where it's a lot of linebackers, 215, 220, 230. That's kind of light, So if we can run the ball, we got running backs 230, 215, 220. We got offensive linemen 310, 315, 320, 335. So if the constant wear on these linebackers or constantly wear on the defensive line, if we can wear them down and win in the 4th quarter, then that's what I want to do.
Okay, I'm not going to belabor the point because, people may be saying, okay, why is he so heavy on it? But I just want people to know how abnormal it is, and that's why I did ask so many questions. But and you mentioned
abnormal to what's going on in today's football.
Yes.
But it's normal in the 60s. It was normal in the 70s, and it was even normal in the 80s. And somewhat in the 90s, it was normal. It's only when you got to the 2000s, it became abnormal.
This is true. So, and when that shift happened, it was a shift towards more quarterback play. So now it begs the question, in an offense where you are condensed, right? Where does Jace Wilson fit in as far as he's preseason second team all SWAC quarterback, a guy who there's some expectations around, but the style sounds a little bit more run heavy than the expectations would expect?
Well, it actually will make Jace a better quarterback. Jace is already a very good quarterback, and he's going to do some good things for us this year. So it will make him a better quarterback by relieving some of the time. We don't have to pass that much. We'll be able to hand the ball off, get 4 or 5 yards, keep the chains moving. We're all about keeping the chains moving and not drop back and pass on 3rd and 10. We can run the ball, get 5 yards, run the ball again and get 5 more yards, and that's our first down. So we're gonna make sure that everybody be able. Most of our running backs touch the ball, and if all our running backs can come out with anywhere between 70 and 60 yards rushing, we have a good day.
And tight end wise, how are you feeling about Jaron Johnson in the group? Because that's another guy who, when I'm not gonna give the whole game plan away, even though not like I'm on the staff, but but when you're looking at having so many tight ends, Jaron Johnson, how do you feel about him and his ability to be a run blocker and be a pass catcher in the offense?
Jaron's a matchup problem. He's going to be more physical than a corner or a safety, and he's going to be faster than a linebacker. So he's a huge matchup problem. Now, I'm sure Coach Smith has plays for Jaron to be that matchup problem. So that's what we're going to use Jaron as a matchup on smaller guys, on the corners and safeties, and match him up on the linebackers where he's a lot faster than him.
Man, ain't nothing better than when a coach come on here and say what you said a couple weeks ago, man. Thank you, coach, making me feel smart for, I said this when I talked about it. All right. So just saying. All right. Now, last question about this offense before we move over to your side of the ball, which is, of course, the defense. In that running back room, you described them a little bit, but can you get a little bit more in depth about the running backs that will be replacing Ladarius Owens from 2023?
Well, it's hard to replace a guy like Ladarius. I've seen Ladarius, I think, 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I was trying to figure out a way to get him back on the team. So it's hard to replace someone like that. I think he led the SWAC in rushing, not just only a good back, but a good person. I was able to sit down and speak with him and talk to him and try to get the pulse of the team from him, a guy that's already going. And, he told me some good things about what the team is and what the team's not. So I got a lot of my philosophy, a lot of my stuff by just listening to him. And I'm always trying to listen and learn from players who's actually been there in the game.
Now let's push forward and let's look at the defensive side of the ball, specifically Jacob Williams. I do have a question that something you said earlier made me want to know a little bit more about Jacob Williams. So let's do that as we continue with Locked On HBCU. Today's episode is brought to you by Ultimate College Football Head Coach. This is easily one of my new favorite games because it allows me to go ahead and take full control of everything that's going on in my program while also allowing me to play 100% offline, because sometimes you are in certain situations where you don't have Wi-Fi, where you don't have great service. And I hate when I'm doing something and all of a sudden my service goes out and now I can't do it anymore. That's not the case when it comes to Ultimate College Football Head Coach. So that's easily one of my favorite things about it. Secondly, when I say I'm really the head coach, I legitimately mean I take every single responsibility, whether that's making sure that my scholarships are together, whether that's recruiting, whether that's hiring a coaching staff or overseeing training camps. I am legitimately the man on the field. So I get to put my coach's hat on in a way that is unmatched and unrivaled by anyone else. So you need to go ahead and go to the App Store and go ahead and download Ultimate College Football Head Coach, or you can go to ultimate-cfb.com. That's ultimate-cfb.com to download the game today. Either way, once you step on the field, you're going to want to take charge. Today's episode is also brought to you by Ibotta, and I understand that maybe you're trying to get ready for a winter vacation. Maybe you're one of those people who like to go skiing, right? You want to go hit the Alps. Obviously, I'm not a skier, but if that's you, you want to go ahead and purchase some things to make your vacation a little bit more luxurious, a little bit more comfortable. There's nothing more comfortable than saving money. So you go ahead and go to Ibotta, go to a place like Kohl's, for example. You can use Ibotta there. They have it at multiple different retailers, including Best Buy, Macy's, and a load of other ones, that if you purchase something there and use the Ibotta app, you're getting money back. So I don't care if it's a $5 purchase. That $5 purchase becomes $4. Everybody that I know is going to be happy about that $5 turning into a $4. right? So that's the thing. Ibotta allows people to earn about $256 per year. It's on you though. Go ahead and download the Ibotta app and use the code Locked On College when you register. You get a $5 back just because you tried it out. Go ahead and go to the App Store, download the app, and use the code Locked On College. That's IBOTTA in the Google Play Store or App Store, and use the code Locked On College. That's wrapping up today's episode of Locked On HBCU. I appreciate you for making this your first listen of the day, every day, making it all the way to segment 3. And I thank you 2 times for that. Thank you. Thank you. I have Cris Dishman, new head coach of Texas Southern University, my alma mater. So, this is a special moment for me. I'm very excited about it. You mentioned something about lighter linebackers. Are you going to change the way that Jacob Williams is used, or has he changed his weight because he is one of those lighter linebackers that you talked about earlier in the show?
Well, Jacob, his body is so much different than he was last year. He's a lot stronger. He put on some muscle weight. He looks very good. But Jacob is so smart. He got a high football IQ. And anybody up top that plays on Sundays and Mondays, be good to have a guy like that, because he has the knowledge of football. He knows when to blitz, when to slither underneath people to make tackles, and know when to headbutt and get around tackles. So his football IQ is amazing. So that's what I love about Jay Will, that he got a good football IQ, and any team that plays on Sundays and Mondays will be happy to get him.
Yeah, you mentioned some of that muscle weight. Do you have a weight range that you think he's around right now?
Jay's probably about 225. I think it's probably been the heaviest he's been, but he looks good. His body looks good. His legs are built out. His chest and stuff is built out. So he'd be able to take on the blockers and do what he always do.
Yeah, no, that's solid. Cause I think he was playing around 215 last year, if I'm not mistaken, by looking at the website or something around that.
Yeah, now, he was around that, so he put on more muscle weight.
Okay, well, that's good. I like to hear that. I like to hear when the linebackers get a little bit bigger as far as prospects and just the physicality of the game. Now, you're a defensive back. I don't know how physical your group's going to be. We know some defensive backs physical, some defensive backs not. How are you feeling about your group in that secondary going into 2024?
Well, Coach Billy Parker, our defense coordinator, is doing a good job of getting those guys and understanding his style and understanding his defense. In order to play football, you got to be physical.
Mm-hmm.
There's no more, I'm this, I'm that. Now, everyone always knock on Prime. Coach Sanders tackled. He knew how to tackle. He's able to get guys on the ground. Mm-hmm. So Coach Sanders, Prime also runs a 4-2. So it's totally different. And I have all the respect for Coach Prime. He's doing a great job there at Colorado and did a great job there at Jackson. But, DBs have to tackle. You can't be like, I don't tackle. If you don't tackle, you don't play.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That doesn't surprise me. A coach that says we playing smash mouth football, so we running 23-32, like all of those things, somebody who comes from a different era, it doesn't surprise me that you're saying, look, I don't care what y'all used to do. We getting our nose in there and we're hitting somebody. So that really doesn't surprise me. It kind of aligns with some of the things that you spoken about. Well, I said I was going to be done with the defense, but with the offense, but I did want to call back real quick, because Prairie View A&M that you're playing this week, they love their defensive line. They feel very proud and very strong in their defensive line's effectiveness. How are you feeling about your offensive line to have to combat that?
Very good. Our offensive line has some of the guys that lost weight and have gained more muscle weight. So I'm feeling very good about our offense. Our team as a whole is not the same team. It's not the same guys. I don't know if you've seen them around campus, but they're putting on a lot of more muscle weight. Jonas and Justin has done a great job in the weight room of getting these guys stronger and faster, and having the confidence to be able to tackle the world.
Okay, now I did want to get back, because I was actually going to ask you about your D-line. But I was going to ask you about your defensive line, but then I remembered I forgot to ask you about that one. How are we feeling about those guys up front as far as their size and about their ability to stop the run and rush the passer?
Team's going to be very surprised about what we've done with our guys. I know we picked last in this poll and last in that poll, and I don't really care where we pick. Like I told our guys, I never seen a reporter pick you and say this is where you're going to be, and you end up that way. Because football is played on the grass. It's not played on paper. It's not played with a pencil and pen. Football is played on either grass or turf. So no matter what, we got to go out and play the game, and not just prove them wrong, but prove ourselves right.
And we went through the offense. We went through every line, every position group.
Yeah.
Of all of them, what is the position group that Cris Dishman feels the most comfortable and the most confident in on Texas Southern right now?
Oh, that's a tough one. That's a great question, but that's also a tough one. Out of 168 days, 170 something days we went, spring ball, summer, and all that. Each group has had a day or two. One day it was the offensive line, then one day it was the defensive line, then one day it was the running backs, receivers, quarterbacks. Each group has out of those 168 days, 170 something days we had, each group have shined at least once or twice on practice. So it's hard to say this group.
Come on, coach. Come on, coach. You know a group is shine a little bit more often than the other. Now, if I ain't gonna get it out you, I ain't gonna get it out you. But I gotta know because I know there's been one group.
I can't really say. Our receivers are probably the more experienced group. I think our receivers probably the most experienced group. But we got a very good offensive line. Our running back room is very good. Coach Andrews has done a great job with those guys, making them understand their football IQ now is better. Our receivers guys, Coach Wilson has done a great job of coaching those guys, and Billy Owens and DJ has done a great job of coaching those guys and getting them ready to play. I think our receiver groups have more of a chip on their shoulders because they feel disrespected.
Appreciation to Cris Dishman for coming on the show. You see the flag behind me. Like, that it means a lot to have my alma mater's head football coach to come on the show. So much appreciation to Cris Dishman for that. On tomorrow's episode, we will have Walker Harris, North Carolina Central quarterback. As we begin our Orange Blossom Classic coverage, we'll have him join the show to break down the last couple of years and how they prepared him for being a first-year full-time starter. So in the meantime, in between time, until the next time that we hear each other, family, take care, stay blessed. Peace.